Bureau, as well as the Sonoma Valley Chamber of Commerce and the City of Sonoma, to strategize and partner on how we can drive more traffic and tourism, especially now through May of 2021, particularly because of everything we're experiencing because of the crisis and pandemic and fires and all the above. So thank you for having me today.
We welcome you here. We look forward to your presentation a little later in the meeting. And I want to welcome you, Christopher. We spoke for a minute or two before the others got on the line. And I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what your vision is for the lodge as you take over the management responsibilities.
Sounds great. Absolutely. Thanks, Norm. My name is Christopher Wingerberg. I'm the general manager here at the lodge at Sonoma. Got here September 1st, so a little over a month now. Loving my time here at Sonoma, even with all the craziness that's been happening. My career's taken me from Hawaii to San Diego to Massachusetts to Tahoe and now to Sonoma. So I've bounced around quite a bit, worked with some amazing communities. And I think my goal here at the lodge is, one, to complete a beautiful transformation that the ownerships are funding, which should complete in April or May of next year. And then two, just to continue to integrate and support the community of Sonoma. I'm here on the call today to see how I can help and how I can be more involved with tourism in Sonoma as a whole. And just look forward to learning and getting to know everyone.
Well, we welcome you aboard. I'd like Dan, as our treasurer, to introduce yourself and tell Christopher a little bit about you and what you do here at the TID.
Okay, I'm Dan Parks, the owner of the Inn at Sonoma, and have a couple other little boutique hotels around the county and neighboring county. I'm the treasurer, and I have been here from the beginning, and I don't know what else would be
Since the beginning, that's a long time.
And most important of all, he's my traveling mate. He and his wife, we travel all over together, which is really important and fun.
And we're looking forward to that again too.
Oh, very quickly, we hope. I'm going to go to you, Wendy, next and ask if you would do the same thing.
Okay, so Wendy Peterson, I'm with the Stay Sonoma Valley group. And again, it's a group of small cottages and small inns. And we're about 30 members, and I'm one of those members. And again, I'm the president of that organization. And I have a little cottage named Jane Sonoma Cottage.
Thank you. And I'll go next. I'm Norman Krug. I developed in the early 1980s 2 hotels in Sonoma. One, the Sonoma Valley Inn in the city of Sonoma, and the other one in Hillsburg, California, the Dry Creek Inn. They're both Best Western flags. I, like Dan Parks and Wendy, we've been here a long time on both the Bureau and the TID. We were in the original formation together of the TID, and I joined Wendy, Dan, Kathy, Tim. We're all people that are very active in our community and love our city of Sonoma. And we're not competitors, we're friends in the same business, and we try to work together to help each other, as opposed to other communities where you don't see that warmth and beauty. And we have that here in Sonoma. And we're unfortunate here in Sonoma because we're losing Kathy in December, one of the major players on our team, and we're going to really miss her. And with that introduction, Kathy, why don't you speak a little bit about yourself and tell Chris what you have been doing and what the succession is going to be like. I can't hear you, Kathy.
So Chris and I had an opportunity to meet recently too at the lovely new restaurant. So I've been city manager here 4 years, my 5th city I've worked for, and after 31 years, I'm going to retire in December and go do consulting half time and get a little time back with my family. So, but I also live here in town and we're not leaving, so we'll continue to be involved, but just in a different way with a little more balance. So again, my focus, the backup, our mayor is the primary on the TID board, I'm the backup, and then also participate with the Visitors Bureau board, and then bring Maureen and Tim and Mark Bodenhammer from the chamber, our 3, what I call our economic engines, our 3 economic engines, which are led by 3 executive director entrepreneurial Energizer bunnies, thank goodness. So there's a lot of good work that the team does collectively. And again, I think that's just I think just welcome to Sonoma. This is I think there's a level of collaboration in this town across sectors, across communities that help makes it special, especially during times of crisis, which we are way too good at.
Thank you very much, Kathy. We are going to miss you. Tim, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself for a couple of minutes?
Sure. Tim Zahner, Executive Director, Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau, and I've been here 2 years now. We have, the 2 visitor centers, Chris, the one in the plaza and the one down at Cornerstone Gardens. We do things like everything as prosaic as handing out visitor guides and telling people where the bathrooms are and where to go have lunch, to more in-depth marketing programs and social media and public relations. And you met our PR person yesterday, so thanks for the impromptu tour. That was really nice. Got a staff of 6 visitor services reps who know everything about Sonoma. And we have had, I don't know, Wendy, what's the proper term, up to 45 volunteers. Of course, the volunteer program's on hold right now as the visitor centers aren't open indoors. But we have a bunch of people who are really passionate about Sonoma Valley and welcoming people and telling people to come visit. And you're going to learn a lot more about us, Chris. So hold on tight. Really good.
Thank everybody for their explanations of what their responsibilities and their involvement in the TAD are. And I'd like at this time to call on Dan Parks to give us an update on our financial condition.
Okay, there's nothing special about our financials except that there's not much coming in compared to ordinary. This is going to really affect us seriously next year. We've got this year pretty much covered. I tried to get an update on what we could expect this month. Ryan over at the city said he thought it would be better than last month, but all of the remittances from the various hotels were not in yet, so he wasn't in a position to give us a number. Yeah, I don't know what to say beyond that. It's just we're in the same position the city's in. We're, because of the lower occupancy, lower everything, there's a lot less money coming in for us to use.
Do we have covered this year's bureau request, their basic request, have we not?
We are able to cover this year's budgeted expenses completely. So we're in good shape there. This will really hit us next fiscal year, starting next July. We'll have a very changed budget.
Could you take a minute and explain to Christopher, who's new to the process, how the TID works in relationship to funding the Bureau?
Just off the top, I can't remember the exact numbers, but in an ordinary year, our 2% of stays amounts to about $700,000. And I'm sorry, this is off the top of my head, but
7 to 750, yeah.
The bulk of our money goes to the marketing program that is run by the city or the Visitors Bureau itself. And we, in addition to that, fund special events, and we try to fund things that happen during the week and in the off season. We try not to, other than a few special heritage events, we try not to spend our money in the middle of the summer when we're usually full. I'm sorry that I have to say usually, but this year has changed that. So I think we're going to hear a little later on about some special thoughts for a little extra money. And I'll leave that because I'm interested myself. What else am I missing? We fund the lighting, or a lot of the lighting of the plaza, which is a program that's been going on for maybe 5 years or so, and has become very popular.
Yeah, that's all. I'll just jump in real quick, Norm. That's all correct. Essentially, the TID funds a large portion of Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau marketing, right? Get people here in the off season, midweek, off peak, so November through April, Sunday through Thursday, and then this great program which reinvests dollars back into community events and allows people to apply for dollars. And so, for example, if you're doing Chris Wingerberg Fest and you're going to bring all the Chris's here in November and you think you have an economic impact of X, you can apply. And the TID decides for those dollars. This year's a little different, right? Because our projected budget was much smaller than previous years. So to the earlier point, usually the TID collects from $700 to $750,000, and this year we projected about $500,000. And that was back in June when we were talking to Wendy and Dan and Norm, and everyone had to make their best guess on how we were going to net out in a crazy year when up here the hotels weren't even open until July 1 for leisure travel. So sorry, so that's a quick.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Tim. We have a new person who's joined our group. Jordan, why don't you say hello to everybody and tell them a little bit about yourself and what your interest is here today.
And that's actually Hunt. So what I'll do is I'll change his name real quickly.
Yeah, Hunt.
I think Jordan might be the name of one of his kids.
Yeah, I thought it was Hunt, but I came up Jordan.
Yeah, it always happens when you log in on the computer and you last log in.
Yeah. I apologize for this. Hunt has bought the property that was Brian's. So why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, Hunt?
Okay, I'm on a computer that I normally don't use, so if you can't hear me, let me know. Can everyone hear me?
Everyone hears you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. All right, hello everyone. So we have nine different units in Sonoma, ranging from the Kenwood area up into the hills of Level Valley, and so we kind of operate a vacation management company. Wendy is one of our lovely clients, and so we. We're on the vacation rental side of things, and so things are. I don't know if we're going into how it's all working for us. It's been ups and downs for the last 6 months, and we're kind of learning on our feet, especially since I took over this company 3 weeks before COVID hit. So that was fun and exciting.
Great timing.
Yeah. Right. So.
Well, we welcome you to our meeting and hope that we can give you information as to what the TID does, and hopefully that you and Christopher will show an interest in joining us and becoming part of our group. With that being said, Tim, would you like to do your marketing report at this time, please?
Sure. I want to make sure, and just so everyone remembers, the agenda is in the chat, and I'll just put that back in there real quickly because Hunt just hopped on. Or Hunt, do you have a copy of the agenda? Let me do this. I'll put it back in the chat real quick, so just so everyone can see it. Boop. Okay. And there we are. And can everyone hear me? We're good? All right. We're going to do a share of my screen. So I'm going to show you some ideas for what we're doing, first of all, for our off-season advertising and how we're going to start it. And then we actually have the second part of my presentation is part of the item number 4, right, which is new considerations from last year, a request for looking at additional funding for more marketing, and that's why Maureen's here as well. So just to give you a hint, it's a 2-part presentation, and I'll share that part first. So let me share my screen. This is always fraught with, there we go. Okay, I'm hoping you guys can currently see something that says off-season advertising. Let's see, there we go. Can everyone see that right now? Yep, okay, good. Thank you, Wendy. So here's what we're gonna do for off-season advertising. And Chris, just as I mentioned, we typically, we have always on marketing, and that's the things like public relations, social media, the website, content, so we're always producing that sort of stuff and paying writers to come up with sort of things and a public relations firm to get the message out. But then we also have paid advertising, which really targets encouraging travel from what was traditionally our lower season, which was November through April. And then also to get people here Sunday through Thursday. All of that has been upended, of course, because of COVID. And in the past 3 years, Chris, we've had pretty much a string of different issues, including fires and smoke and fires. And I'm sure something else has happened. So it's kind of upended our October, November, which used to be still pretty high. And then you normally see a drop around Thanksgiving in occupancy. So our goal of advertising is to get people here to fill that period. So here's what we're looking at for off-season advertising for this year and kind of what's happening here. So targeting mid-November to March, we currently have a budget of $100,000 for paid advertising. Again, that's not our total marketing spend, but that's what we have for paid buying advertising. And we're targeting Northern California and a little bit of what I'm calling Northern Southern California, so the northern part of Los Angeles. What we find a lot of research is most people are coming from about 250 miles away, and that's when we were planning. That might be expanding with the COVID situation, but that's kind of like where people were making most of their trips. So we were looking at search when people are actually searching for information about travel, good places to go near me, something like that. Then we're also looking at the video and banners and native. What that means, when we say programmatic, those tend to be things that pop up on other websites. So if you're looking at a news website and an ad pops up that's not directly about or from that advertiser, it's a different advertiser, and it kind of follows you around because it knows that you like travel. Or if you've ever seen a pair of shoes or a pair of pants follow you around the internet, that's kind of what that is. And then nativo stories, which are native looking stories that are usually embedded in a website. They look more like editorial or video, but they're advertising. So we're looking at that. And then we're trying to think about direct response or email or some sort of way that we can get their information for further marketing. So that's always a plus. So with the budget of 100,000, we're going to devote about 25% of it to search engine marketing, SEM. Then about 25% of that to a mix of display advertising, which you'll see video as it pops up on websites, the video starts playing, banner websites, little banners, and then native, which is traditionally, it looks like editorial. It looks like it's something you write and people get all excited about it. Nativo is another version of native advertising. And then OTA being, oh God, I'm forgetting what OTA stands for right now. The response from people trying to get them to give us their emails and things like that. I'm gonna look that up. So the paid search is oftentimes the best response for people because people are already in that frame of mind, like I want to find this information. And then we pop up, you guys have seen that on Google. So we get pretty good response rate on that. And people often will give us their visitor guide request form or an email address. And that's what we need to hear. Digital display, we've done a lot of these, so you can see that. So there'll be banner, video, native ads that'll pop up. But you can target certain geographies. And I'm sure the Lodge does this. I'm sure some of the bigger companies are already doing this. Norm, I'm sure Best Western does this. And then retargeting. If people come to our website, of course, we can then target them later with an ad, maybe a day or two later, and it says, "Hey, come to Sonoma Valley." So like, oh, it's following me around the internet, and they kind of like that stuff. We're trying to look at, it's kind of fun, but Spotify and things like that, where people listen to music, is a neat place for streaming platforms for advertising. So you can kind of get into people's, get in front of their eyeballs, I guess, or their ears with our advertising. So this is Nativo, and it's a platform for getting information out or advertising out to different platforms. So for example, it can appear on the Sacramento Bee or SF Gate, Food and Wine, USA Today, but you can target certain geographies. And it's just another way to get our information out to them and promote off-season travel. There's some examples of what it looks like. Palm Springs has been doing this. Our ad buyer also works a lot with Palm Springs, and they're both a competitor, and they're kind of a, you know, we know everyone that works down there, they're a slightly different product, but they are also away from a major urban area and kind of a resort feel. So a lot of things they do, we can also mimic. Travel Zoo, oh, there we go. OTA, online travel agency. I'm back. So the idea about, you guys, I'm sure most of you lodging use Travel Zoo. Hunt, if you're not familiar with it, and I'm sure you are, but it's essentially deals and offers from a very large database of people. We can be on their site, and also helps us get their information later. So you can run the different campaigns to get emails so we can put them into our list, which would be great. So here's the budget breakdown in a flow from November through March, just kind of what we're looking at with the dollar amount that we have right now. And hopefully that will get us through the holiday promotion that we'll be doing. That's traditionally November through December. And then January, February, March, we could feature other reasons to come visit, everything from, you know, come enjoy the outdoors, everything Valentine's Day, spring in Sonoma. And hopefully that gets us through, and hopefully we're past this point. So by April and May, we're getting back to more normal visitation patterns. So that's the presentation I have, Norm, for this portion. Just to fill you in, remember we're putting up the lights, which the TID provides the funds for. That'll be going up on the plaza this month, and then we'll be unveiling them or turning them on in November. So November and December is holidays in Sonoma, and we have programming against that and trying to get the wineries to submit information, and Maureen's gonna be a huge part of that. Then what we will also do is we have January, February, March, and it goes into April. But that's where we're looking at additional programming to get people aware of what's happening here, because there's probably not going to be off-season events in the same fashion that we had before. So that's where we're at.
Tim, could you do me a favor and email to all the participants of this call or this meeting a copy of that, so we can either print it up in hard form or have it on our computers?
Absolutely.
And I have a question. You said a portion of the money is going to be spent in the northern Los Angeles area?
Correct.
If we're only spending such a small amount of money there, my question is, why are we spending it there? Wouldn't we better just keep it all up here in Northern California?
Yeah, that's a good point, Norman. It's one of those things that it's sort of a guess. I initially was just going to do Sacramento and San Francisco. And that was back when we first started this process, because we thought people wouldn't go that far. When I started talking to some of the hoteliers, I was hearing people were coming from Los Angeles, and the flights were starting to come back. And there's a weird trade-off, right? Because people from San Francisco, it's easier for them to get here, but they don't spend as much time here. They might come for 1 or 2 nights. When people go a little bit further, they might extend into 3 nights, and possibly even longer. So it won't be a huge amount. And what's nice about digital advertising is we can target people who have an interest in Sonoma already, or wine country. So we're not really what we call wasting an impression. But yeah, the majority of it's going to be up Northern California right now, because yeah, it's not a lot of money. Let's be honest. It's.
Well, that was my reason for the question. Small amount of money in a target area outside the 2.5 hour drive.
the further we get from people who can just hop in a car and come up within 2 hours, the
Yeah.
more you rely on public relations, right? So we had a great article in the LA Times. It was literally about to hit last week. And it was great. We've been working on it for a year. We had photos, we had all sorts of stuff. And then the writer said, hey, how are things up there right now? Because the story was about how we've recovered from the last fires. And she said, you know what? I'm going to hold that story. I said, thank you. Don't publish that story.
Good move.
Yeah. But what's nice is public relations or working with the journalists and stuff like that allows us to get our message out at more affordable, but you have less control, right? So we'll rely more on that for further afield. And we're gonna be doing more media things now that hopefully, somebody knock on wood, hopefully things have calmed down for the season. So yeah, it's a good question.
Do any other members of the board or our guest, Chris or Hunt, do you have anything that we want to ask or any clarification of Tim?
No, but I do want to throw in my 2 cents. We have seen a decent amount of folks from the LA and then a few from San Diego, more than I actually expected, and almost all of them driving up because it's only, if you're in northern LA, it's 6 hours or whatever. So, and they're staying for 3 or 4 days. So I think it's worth throwing a few pennies that direction.
Okay, thanks, Hunt.
Thank you. Chris?
I guess my only question, Norm, to your point, and Tim, is what kind of tracking do we have? Is there any way to identify whether the dollars spent in northern LA was a success?
Right. There is, in the sense that we can track. So let's say, you're in Ventura County, where I think Maureen's from or something. So we can track, we can put the ads into Ventura County, right, by zip code or IP address. And then we can see the response, right, if people click or not. Now, the one challenge we have is, and it's a little beyond our spend, this is awful, you could put an ad on a mobile device that could appear in Oxnard. And then later we can see if that mobile device showed up in Sonoma, okay? That a company sells that. It's called Arrivalist. It's awful, horrible Big Brother stuff, and it's fantastic for marketing, and it always makes my skin crawl. But you can do that, but just beyond we don't have that much money. What we could do is rely on our partners to either give us hard evidence, like if the lodge wanted to give me a zip code dump, I could do it. Or kind of anecdotal, to Hunt's point, where people say, yeah, we're seeing more of that. But, sometimes flagged hotels won't always show stuff like outside the TID, the Fairmont sits over there. And I always beg them for all of their zip codes. And they always say, no, they can't do it. So then I say, well, is LA, in your top 5? And we kind of play a funny little game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the hard part. When you get to the destination level, I don't control access to the same level of information the hotels do. But, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, that was more curiosity, just because we track all digital spend by guest stays, right? So it's pretty easy to judge ROI, but I was curious on destination level what that looks like.
No, and if you want Marriott to give me all that data, I will happily take it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Ask.
Thank you, Chris. Wendy, did you want to say something, Wendy?
Oh, well, I guess not about that in particular, but tell us about, and maybe I missed it last meeting, what the Christmas lights will look like.
Oh, sure. Yeah, thanks. So Wendy, we've got obviously the same company, Christmas Light Pros. Every year we've been able to get a little bit cheaper, because if we spend money and we buy things that are a little reusable, right? So remember, we have the spheres and the stars. So this year it'll look similar to last year, but we're always going to change it up a little bit. So if you remember the light curtain that was over by the Bear Flag Republic statue in the northeast corner, this year we're going to change it to, there's this beautiful huge tree right there, right? It sprawls out. I don't think it's an oak, but it's beautiful branches. Everyone does their birthday parties underneath there. We're going to put the lights along the branches so they can kind of drape down, and it'll form like a circle of light around that section right there. But we'll also have City Hall. We'll have different corners. I think the hospice group is still lighting up that one tree. I know that tree workers were working on it, Kathy, so we'll see what ends up there. And those lights have been there a long time. New this year, and this will be part of like the request for when we talked to Maureen, the snowmen might move from Cornerstone up towards Sonoma. I'm having a meeting on Friday with the man who owns the snowmen. He's got about 250 of them, and how to have a vision of having them in a place that they can be seen but not abused, and also maybe moving them a little bit, just because the plaza is already going to have a lot of activity. So is there a way to move it a little bit around the city? So for example, a business could host them up on a balcony, maybe down on Broadway, Dan. Maybe we can have them down at one of your businesses or something like that. So people can see them, move around, take their photo with them. And it encourages visitation, just, you know, of course to the plaza, but also outside the plaza area, which does tend to get a lot of activity. So yeah, that's what, and I'm meeting with him on Friday. His whole vision was to have it on the lawn of City Hall, Kathy. And I said, oh, that's a quick way for 200 snowmen to disappear real fast. So yeah, we'll see what we can do. We're going to walk around on Friday and try to vision it.
Does anybody else want to comment on Tim's report? Tim, it's still your turn.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say, but I think Kathy might want to say something. And I think Kathy, you're muted. So no.
Okay.
You're
Well,
muted,
now,
All right,
Kathy,
okay.
we're going to turn the meeting over to you. So you have to.
Okay. Great. All right. I'm going to be very brief. I do have to jump at 10 o'clock on another call, and we will lose our quorum then. So I know we've got to get to some action items. So I'm not going to go into detail on what I was going to communicate, but just a few things. Yeah, Ryan is going to be getting information. We ended up in overall TOT in July for the city. This is the 13%, came in about 245,000. Typically we would be in a 485,000, so kind of 50%. And then August came in at 219. I don't know if that's everyone. I haven't gone look at the detail, and we don't know September. So we're at, you know, we were at 50% TOT for kind of August, for July. August was a little lower, maybe 45%, and we'll see what September. We're going to do a budget update to council on the 19th of October. So my team's putting that together. So it's not bad, but it's not great, as you all know.
Kathy, when we get last month's done, can we get that sent out to everybody on the board?
Yeah. I look when we've got enough where I can hide who we don't have, then I'll do a quick update to folks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the other piece I'll just say briefly is that COVID, we are moving the wrong direction. You're just reading that in the paper. Our numbers are going the wrong way. And I had some charts. I won't show those to you because we're running out of time, but we are moving the wrong direction. There's this new equity matrix the county has, the state has now too. We are working in the Valley with La Luz and a variety of other partners, including Vintners and Growers and the Chamber, and how do we really support the Latino community so that we can try to improve our numbers here. But frankly, there's some bigger numbers out of the Santa Rosa area for all the right reasons, more population. So we are still, city managers, trying to unpack the why so we can really figure out what we should be doing a little more. So there's a lot of conversations happening there. And then on a bit of good news, I do want to thank my city team who has been working with Maureen and Mark and Tim, and we put out a guide. I'll send the link out to Tim and he can forward it to everyone on parklets and pedestrian extensions. So that went out on Friday. We're meeting with restaurants. They can now they can take 5 parking spaces in front of their restaurant, build out a platform, winterize, and potentially try to get through the winter and expand their space. Because at some point we have to move people off the plaza. It will become a muddy mess. So that's all I've got for right now. And I will turn it so we can move to the action item. Thanks, Norm.
Thank you very much. At this point, I want to, the action item that is listed here is there's a request for funds for the off-season promotion as part of a coordinated effort by the city of Sonoma, the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau, Sonoma Valley Vintners and Growers, and the Valley Chamber of Commerce requesting an amount up to $35,000. And Tim, I'm going to let you lead that discussion, and we have Maureen here, I know, who is part of that, but why don't you take over and lead that discussion?
Perfect. Thank you, Norm. And I should also say that the way the agenda is written, there's sort of like two items in one, because we also had what to do with the money for off-season event grants, which there's no off-season events this year as far as we know. So there's that bucket right there. And they're kind of related if the board acts that way. So let me.
That's your source of funding is what you said.
Correct, as a source of funding. Thank you, as a possible source. So basically, here's the deal. We, as we all know, or most of us know, our budget was 750,000 as a TID, and then we made it 500,000 with where we are, because back in June we're setting the budget. We think this is what we have. This was before we had the smoke and the fires, which, if you recall, it's not just the most recent one we had, but there's also the one that was in northwestern Sonoma County, which also affected us with smoke and cancellation. So we've already had a month of fires and smoke earlier than we thought we would. And the only person that actually thought about this was Kathy, who had several budgets, which got more and more dismal the more she was showing me the different drafts. But Kathy, unfortunately, you were right. So we're looking at a big problem here with pandemic, with possible second bump, and then the cancellations that we normally would get, right? We all make hay when the sun shines, and normally that's September and October and August. What I would like to do, and so basically we've been talking to the city, been talking to Maureen's group, the Valley Vintners and Growers, and Mark at the Chamber of Commerce, is we might need to do a little more than we thought we did, because we are missing out because of the fires again. So the proposal is to come back and allocate more dollars for additional advertising to target the Bay Area and Sacramento for off-season visitation that doesn't circle around these events, because we don't see events happening. So let me show you what the plan that we had drawn up, and Maureen can talk more about, because she's been doing a great job getting all the wineries in a row, which is like herding cats. So here we go. I like how Maureen did not correct me out there, so it is correct. It is like herding cats. Okay, so you guys can see my screen again, I think. Let me go back to the additional recommendations. So the additional recommendations would include, one option is cable TV, targeting San Francisco and Sacramento zones. Looking at essentially this area and targeting adults 25 and up who dine out and go to restaurants. And these would be ads and banner, so TV would be these pre-roll ads. If you look at Home and Garden TV or whatever you watch, a Sonoma Valley TV ad would pop up. And then also on online, which is Centro, we can do banner ads and video ads. And we could overlay this December, January, February, March. So that's one option. Second option is streaming TV, which everyone's on, Netflix, Hulu, and stuff like that. You can put some ads on streaming TV on there that are targeted, especially if you're on Hulu and things like that. These ads pop up, YouTube. Streaming is very popular. So again, target household income of 150,000 plus, San Francisco and Sacramento, and then also do some online ads. So it's online ads are a constant, plus either streaming TV or like on Comcast when you're watching baseball and an ad pops up. Option 3, we can bundle cable and streaming TV. Again, same sort of thing. San Francisco, higher income zones in Sacramento, and do streaming in San Francisco only. And then also do the online ads. So those are our 3 options. They all net out to $35,000. There will be some production costs, but we have a lot of video already created, so it won't cost that much, and that's a different budget bucket, so it's not included in the ad buy. But the request is to come back with some more dollars so that we can promote a little bit more now that we have lost August and September and possibly October. And a lot of this always goes back to how wet the year is going to be and how we're going to get people here. And happy to have Maureen talk a little bit about how she's got some of the wineries working together on ideas and programs for off season, which are non-events, because Kathy gets itchy when we talk about events.
Just so I clarify one point, Dan, the $35,000 that we have allocated for community events that we have not funded or committed to fund, that is covered in the amount for this year in the budget. So it's available, not used. Is that right?
Yes, I think that's true. I think there might be a couple things, and I'm thinking particularly about the museum, that we make a donation, but there's no quote event associated with that. So there might be a couple little things, but for the most part, the things that we're funding are not happening and don't need the funding.
Okay,
So you have Maureen, start looking at the budget, because I've got, if this is a budget, assuming you approve what was on the agenda in July, there was for the 2021, there was 20,000 in community events and 10,000 in heritage events.
So we got, I think it's 30,000 is the amount that was there, which are not happening. Except to Dan's point, we have heard from the museum, and I haven't seen an application that they're asking if the grants are happening. But, and Dan, as far as I know, they haven't asked specifically for an amount or have brought forth a program, but they might do something, but it's unknown.
so what
I think they were looking for the application. The amount there ordinarily is $5,000, so it's a small piece of what we ordinarily do.
And and Kathy might know, because the city, there was talk of them doing the outdoor sculpture thing again. I wonder if that was it or if it was something else. I have no idea.
Yeah, we haven't had that conversation again yet.
But at this point, there is no pending event that we have to consider or have already considered and have agreed to fund, so that these funds are at this point still available for discussion today.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
With that, Maureen, could you participate and give us a little background on how the vineyards are feeling, or the wine group is feeling about this program that Tim has just described?
Sure. I thought I'd start off with sharing a little bit of information. We have partnered with a company called Community Benchmark. For the first time ever, Sonoma Valley Vintners and Growers is able to have some analytics and data points on our visitation to our wineries. We just received one of our first reports, which they're calling the intelligence report for Sonoma Valley. And it's showing year over year, compared to August of 2019, that Sonoma Valley visitation to our wineries is down 62%. The overall average between 6 different wine regions is 48%. But the most sort of the biggest red flag that we're seeing is that Sonoma Valley is at the very tippy top of, you know, the wine region with the biggest drop of visitation. So to give you some comparison, Napa Valley is at 54%, San Luis Obispo 44% down. So it's a huge red flag for us. Why is Sonoma Valley at 62%? Why are we experiencing the most drop? Obviously, we've had a lot of fires. However, Napa has too. So we want to dig into those numbers a little bit more, but I think that really just shows that this partnership that we would be embarking on with the Visitors Bureau and the city and so forth is just so important. Now more than ever, our businesses are hurting and they're incredibly concerned about the winter months. You know, the December through, you know, April is huge concern for our vintners and growers. We're really excited about potentially bringing together some themed weekends so that there's content. And by themed weekends, I mean focusing on potentially, you know, 4 weekends in January that are all focused on cheese pairings in Sonoma Valley. So there might be wineries that will be partnering with specific cheesemongers to drive, to be able to give to Tim to say, here's what our vintners are doing, here's what some of our restaurateurs or retailers are doing in Sonoma Valley, and here's what you can push out to all of your advertising partners and drive traffic, drive tourism to Sonoma Valley for these reasons, and this is why people should visit. So we'll do a whole calendar of those things if we're able to partner to really drive home and build out a really great, very rich calendar of content.
Thank you. Kathy, did you want to add anything?
No, yeah, I just want to say that, Mayor Harvey has been on our business recovery team. He and Vice Mayor Hunley have been working closely with Maureen and Tim and Mark over the last 6 months. And so he and I are fully committed to this kind of approach. I guess what I see is typically, we might be a little cautious, but I think where we are is we are at a point where I think somewhere between 15 to 20% of our restaurants may just close between December, January, and February because there's not enough traffic to keep them open. That is not good for our hotels. We really need to create, and we need to go beyond just the typical of kind of just the slow season. I think we may have to step back as an organization and really think about when is the slow season, when is the peak season. I think our peak season with all the fires and everything may not be our peak season anymore. And so there is this kind of bigger conversation we need to have. But as a city, we are really supportive. Just to let you know, we've got money that we're putting into parklets, trying to do a lot of business recovery, somewhere between 50 to 100,000. I think as a city, we've put in, plus probably hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of staff time at this point. So we feel like we are coming through strong as a partner. We would ask that the TID board be a strong partner. I think there's still, Tim and Maureen have been working on what it looks like in terms of social media and the different options. Some of that still may be a little fluid, but I think Maureen's got great content and great creativity there to work with Tim's, kind of good visitor bureau content, and then having some vehicles so we can get this information out. But I think we really feel strongly we need a little bump, because otherwise we're going to lose some businesses. And again, it's an ecosystem. So that's where we are as a city.
Tim, Maureen, based on Kathy's statement, we could lose 15 to 20% of our restaurants this winter, and we have uncertain conditions on the virus. How do you feel about the timing? In other words, if we get people to come here, what are they going to do with the rest if we have limited restaurants and limited wineries? I mean, those are key ingredients at Sonoma Valley Inn. People come for the food, the wine. What is your thinking, the group thinking on the timing when we should be doing the marketing to get people to come here if we have to deal with these negative effects?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there is the fear of a downward spiral, right? And it's what I would like to do is get in front of it and inject a bit of confidence for the businesses and then also for consumers. And there is sort of a chicken and egg thing here. I know a lot of businesses are very worried, and some of them are throwing up their hands. And when I ask them, well, if you do a few things, we can get the word out. And some, a single business has despair. I'll be clear. But if we can get them in a group to say they're going to do stuff, and we can rally the community. And I know we've been doing this. This is the third year in a row we get to the rally thing, and I am also tired. I think though we can staunch the bleeding and get over it, because the alternative is just to throw up our hands and watch the spiral accelerate.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just
and I don't think we. No, yeah, I know you're not. I mean, Norm, you're like one of the most popular guys I know, right? I think we need to do this because, again, it's a bad alternative.
Yeah.
I guess when are the two of you recommending is you put your program together and start the marketing efforts?
Well, I'll start the holiday promotion in November, which is nice. We have a ready-made program that gives us through the first week of January already, which is holidays. And what's nice is Mark has shop small for holiday shopping. we've got the lighting of the plaza. So the good news is we have an existing program that we can do it, and people are going to be looking for outdoors, bright and shiny things this year. So we're in a good spot. What worries me is second week of January through April.
Yep.
Especially if it's wet. And then, Maureen's, I mean, she's taking a stick to the heads of the wineries and tasting rooms and saying, guys, you got to start thinking now so we can get the word out to the journalists and everybody, and people can start planning it, and we'll make a big fuss about it, but they've got to commit to doing it. And if everyone does a little bit, it'll magnify.
Yeah, I'll just reinforce what Tim was saying. And from what we've heard, we've brought together our vintners over the last 6 weeks, probably 8 weeks, and we've had marketing committee meetings about every 2 weeks to hear from our vintners directly. And really the biggest thing is that if they can have some confidence, like Tim was saying, that there is going to be some direct advertising and a huge push to drive traffic during those off months, the January on, that will just boost their confidence and allow them to plan. And that's the biggest thing, is that if they know there's effort behind it, they can plan and they can deliver that content, and we can all come together as a united front to deliver that message.
And Norma, Kathy does need to leave.
Yeah, my apology, folks. We're gonna lose our quorum, and I really hate to push so hard, but I've got 10 people in the county on a call that if I'm not on, they can't get on, so I have to jump. Is it possible to take a quick vote? You all can then, the actions taken, you can give feedback, but the meeting is kind of, that piece is done, or we may have to schedule another meeting. I'm sorry.
Kathy, can you make the motion?
I would motion that we take 35,000 and it comes from events at this point, and we try to do some creative social media and outreach and marketing, working closely with vendors and growers in the chamber.
I second the motion.
Are there any comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so it looks like it's unanimous.
All those who are against the motion? Nobody's against it, so it passes.
And I apologize.
No,
I apologize to push like that.
One quick thing before you leave. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 17th?
I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments? If not, I call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I have to abstain. I was not there.
Okay.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Kathy. I wanted to get the minutes in.
Great.
And
And I really apologize to the
Nothing
group
to
to having to
apologize.
drive this. I apologize. I've got to jump. Thank you.
Kathy.
thank you. And what we're going to do is continue the meeting for a few more minutes on items that do not need quorum or presentation. But I'd like to ask, is Hunt on the line still?
It looks like a customer just walked in.
Oh, a customer just walked in.
Which is
Okay.
good. Good
Norm,
problem.
I have a question that maybe this has come out, but I just missed it. We just agreed to put in $35,000 to this program. Who else is funding this? What's the total funding? And just some basic things that from the money point of view.
And I can answer that. So thank you, Dan. It's a good question. As Kathy mentioned, and she just hopped off, so the city has a fund for from CARES Act dollars, right? And they've been drawing on that fund to do things like the Sonoma Al Fresco and their promotion locally. And then what they're using that money now is to help businesses do the parklets and the encroachment permits. So that's an acceptable use they can use it for. And also to help businesses do beautification and security around when they take over the parking lots. So they have that fund. And then Maureen and Mark also are contributing in-kind dollars through their, their staffing time and stuff like that, putting together the programming. And Maureen just looks like she had to hop and deal with a child issue, but they've been putting that in. And so, for example, Maureen's company is taking the lead on getting all the winery programming together and donating that. Mark is rolling out the Shop Local program and doing all of that sort of aspect of it. What we're also going to do and hope to do is, as a group, go and apply to the county TOT funds by saying, everyone's putting these dollars in these matching funds. Can we unlock some money from the county TOT funds? And that'll help, the entire valley, because those funds come from there. But if we can do that, we've got a really good case to be made that we're getting the word out, we're pushing it, and we're working collaboratively on it. I would love, Dan, I was pushing Maureen, she was kind of rolling her eyes at me. If some of the bigger wineries would like to co-op on this and put their name behind it, that'd be fantastic. Now, they're in the same place the hotels are with cash flow right now. So it's probably not likely, but I would love it if JCB wanted to come out and do something about it. But I don't know how likely that is, to be honest.
I think you and Maureen should really consider doing some sort of co-op ad, even for small dollars, to get,
That's
at
good.
least throw the idea out there. I know none of the hotels really have money, or I'm assuming the wineries are in the same spot. Their cash flow is very poor, but still, I think you should see if there's some small dollar amounts that they can ride along.
No, I like that. No, we're going to work on that because I have a couple of proposals. I held it off once the fire started, but I'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Dan, does that answer your question?
Dan?
So if you sum up what you just said, the total budget is $35,000 plus a lot of in-kind and energy from other places.
Correct. That is correct.
And it's part of an overall $100,000 budget that you're putting together, is that right?
Well, we already have, we have the 100,000 off season. We're layering this on top, and the hope
It's
is
135.
Yeah, which then hopefully we go back to the county TOT fund, unlock dollars there.
Okay.
The
Have you
city has
done
their CARES
any
Act.
other organization, such as the city of Sonoma, the county, or the vintners, to commit any other amounts of money other than the 35 we just?
Well, so the city has those CARES Act funds, but they're necessarily limited in how they can be used. But essentially, Norm, it'll allow, like Kathy was saying, the parklets and the variances and things like that. Those will be used, and I can't speak for the city, but this was the discussion, that there could be waiving of certain fees, there could be expediting of permitting. They've devoted a ton of staff time already to it, and they can continue to do it. So for example, the plaza on the weekends, you see how it kind of turns into an outdoor dining area. They've been using a lot of staffing and signage and things like that to make that happen, and DPW and the banners and everything. So they are putting in dollars in the form of labor and also in form of waived fees, if that makes sense.
And is the vintners committed to any amount of money at this time?
Maureen?
No, SVVGA does not have a single penny to contribute to this, unfortunately. Luckily, we as an organization decided to move out of our office last December. And so we were able to save a lot of money because we did not have rent. Otherwise, we would not be surviving this pandemic.
Yeah,
we lost a lot of money from not doing Signature Sonoma Valley in May. We also lost a lot of money from some of our grape growers who did not renew their membership, and some of our associates. So overall, between Signature Sonoma Valley and membership dues that were not renewed, it's like $318,000 that we lost this year. So we have our contribution that we can leverage against is definitely our staff time and our resources from our outlets. We have a huge consumer database. We have a great following on social media, over 100,000 followers between all of our channels. We have a great network of concierge. So great outlets to be able to push this information out and amplify the info. And of course, all of our time to gather and develop partnerships and contents between wineries, retailers, restaurants, etc.
All that being said, then, the only dollars that are committed in this program are what we did this morning, the 35,000, and you're hoping to get from the city and from the vintners lots of staff time and resources, but no dollars at this point, and you're hoping to solicit from the city some maybe dollars and maybe from the county, from the bureau. Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, so Norm, it's a good point. The membership only organizations, which are Maureen's group and Mark's group, are in the same spot we're at, where people aren't renewing in the same way, right? Because businesses are stressed. The people with the funds include TID and the city of Sonoma, and then the Sonoma County tour, the TOT fund, the community investment dollars. So our hope is to leverage what we have already committed, what we have with what the vintners and growers and the Chamber of Commerce have a lot of programs and a lot more sway with business, and package that together. And then using TID dollars, get dollars from the county. The city does have dollars, right? They are limited by what the CARES Act says they can use them for. So the thought is to use it for things that are the city's really good at. Use our dollars for what we're good at, which is marketing and promotions. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to say we want to white knuckle through the off season, but that's what I feel like we're kind of doing here. And it's not the ideal situation, but it's what we've got, and I think we can get through it. And then hopefully next year we have a good framework of cooperation among everybody for even better promotion.
I'm just trying to clarify our
I
position.
appreciate that.
I hope that we can go forward and get additional dollars from other sources in addition to the time, because I think we can't lay down and play dead. I think we have to go out there and show the world we're still alive. And like we were talking before the meeting started, today you have bad air quality again back up here. And we're coming into the rainy season, and I don't know what the restaurants are going to do. They're not going to be able to use the plaza. And if the virus continues, they're not going to be able to use the indoors. So I don't know what the answer is.
And that's the case for the city. If the CARES Act will allow them to expedite allowing building tents, right, in the parklets, they can devote time to that, which will help the restaurants maybe eke through it. Okay. And they're getting creative, you know, and we all got to get creative. That's what we do in tourism. But it's, yeah, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's going to be a hard winter.
No. But I'm trying to clarify.
Yeah,
Wendy, do you have any question? Chris?
I just, to clarify one more time, Tim, so is this something we will reach out to the county and see if they want to participate? It just seems with the winery programming, there's a big opportunity for us to join forces and push this out.
Yeah, so Maureen's group is the entire Sonoma Valley, of course. Mm-hmm. So and so it's kind of interesting, you know. So you have the city of Sonoma, which kind of ends at Taco Bell. Okay, good, and it ends at Broadway Market, right by you. And then you've got the county. So both Maureen and I represent both the city area and then the county's valley area. Okay.
Yep.
And so the majority of Maureen's membership is actually outside in county land, as far as like wineries. Okay.
Right.
So the county of Sonoma has a program where you can apply for a portion of what's called the TOT, that's collected in the county, to promote visitation to the county. So
got it.
We know when visitors come, they don't respect boundaries, right? So what we'll do is make sure we can leverage the whole thing and go out with a good Sonoma Valley message. And obviously Sonoma City benefits greatly from that because it's the largest concentration of lodging and activities in the valley. So, yeah, so it's a good point. We definitely will never neglect outside the city limits.
Got it. But will we be requesting funding from the county as well?
Yeah, so that's the county has a program.
So we're going to submit for that.
Absolutely. And what's nice is now that we have leveraging, we can go against it, right?
Because that makes sense.
They often ask who's working. And if we can show all of us are working together, that's much more beneficial than just one person. You know?
Yep, most definitely. Yeah, and then if we can get the activation calendar out to all the hotels, we can all support it organically as well, which, you know, again, I think for all pushing, that's going to be better.
Chris, you're going to talk your way onto a committee. Good job.
We also want, if your city guide that the city's putting out, a copy of the proposals to do, I think you had a $35,000 proposal as your initial.
Yeah, I'll send that to everyone.
Yeah, and the earlier presentation, if you get all that to us on email, we can print it, or if we need additional information, we can contact either Maureen or you or
Yep.
Kathy, whoever the author is.
Yep.
Dan, did you have any other questions? Dan?
No, I think that I understand the program better now, and I think we're sort of the seed money, and let's make it happen.
Right.
Seed money, I like it. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, on a different subject, I would like to ask, first of all, I want to thank Hunt and Chris for being part of our meeting as our guests today. And the group would like to invite you to become board members. And at our November meeting, if you'd allow us to put your name in nomination, Chris to be the representative from the lodge, Hunt to be the representative taking over for the new ownership of the B&Bs. And with your permission, may we do that?
Absolutely.
So
Very much.
I look forward to having you as members, and we will put you on the agenda and vote on you. We have to do things so that you're aware, because of the Brown Act, we can't have a discussion today on it or appoint you to it. We have to make a public announcement and vote on it at our next board meeting. Our next board meeting will be the second Thursday of the month in November. And we'll probably be doing a Zoom, and Tim will be in touch as to the timing and coordination of that. And it's always subject to things happening with the virus that could move it in one direction or another, but our normal time is the second Thursday of the month.
Which is going to be November 12th is what I just saw.
Okay.
November 12th at 9 o'clock on the Zoom.
Okay, and we will be in touch with you if there's any change, and we'll be in touch with you with the agenda and the Zoom information prior to that date. Are there any other questions, any other comments from any of the board members or guests that you'd like to say before we adjourn?
I would like to ask, and maybe Tim knows better than anybody else, what special efforts are being made to get our restaurants open inside?
Nice, yeah.
I mean, I know that's a huge question, but I'd like to think something's happening.
Yeah, Dan, that's a great question. There's both private conversations that I've had many times with, and I'm sure Maureen has too, with Supervisor Gorin, who's our #1 channel to the county. So the county's in charge of this, and the county health official does it. As you know, we have these different colored tiers, and we're in purple, which is the worst tier, I believe. We need to move up into red in order for us to open up restaurants to, I think, 25% capacity indoors. We are not there. And a couple of different factors. My understanding is because of the evacuations and because we have a population that is more susceptible to the coronavirus effects, and the spread is more than other areas, that we're not moving out of purple right now. So that's where we're at. I know, Dan, on Facebook, I see people in different places just really getting irate with the county on this issue. And I don't know. I have no idea what's happening. I don't know. Maureen, maybe you do, or Chris does or something, but.
Yeah, I'll just add on top of what Tim just said. there's really nothing to add other than other than there's really just not a lot that we can do at this point. The only thing that there's two things I'll offer. Number one, Mike Thompson had a meeting with some of the business associations in the district, Lake County, and all over Sonoma County and Napa and Lake, and just gave an update on sort of what was happening on the federal level. Mark and I were on that meeting, and we got in touch with David Rabbit shortly after that and just said, hey, it would be really great for us to have a meeting for Sonoma County and for Dr. Mace and public health to host that meeting, because a lot of the questions were coming from restaurants and of course wineries, and that's out of Thompson's hands, right? So all the questions are, are funneled and are more specific to the county. And so we're trying to see if we can't get a group together to have the conversation, because right now there's data that points to where specifically the cases are coming from. So there's no reason why we can't come together and try to work around that. I mean, there's no reasons why certain areas of Sonoma County maybe can't open. I mean, there's creative ways that we can look at this and that we should look at this. And I think we need to start having those conversations, because as Kathy said this morning, it's going in the opposite direction, but it's very finite. We have data that points exactly where those cases are happening. So why should all of Sonoma County have to be held back because of that?
Is Sonoma City itself going up?
I have not seen that. So right now, I think we're at 6% for Sonoma, 0% for Glen Ellen, and 0% for Kenwood. So I would have to look at those numbers again to see if we've gone up in the last day or two. But I have not seen an increase.
So the argument is that those people at 0% in communities that are at 0 should be allowed to open, where maybe other parts of the county should shut down where the virus is still growing.
It seems logical to think that that would be the case.
Yeah, we don't have, unfortunately, it's just county, right? That's your block, that's your unit of,
Right.
You don't get smaller than that, which I think the discussion was, can we break it into smaller units?
The one piece of interesting information is that Presentation School was approved, their waiver was approved to open. So that is the only, there was, I guess, 15 applications. And so Sonoma, or, Presentation in Sonoma Valley was the only school that was approved for their waiver to open. I'm not sure the capacity or what that looks like as far as the schedule goes, but that's positive because they're based in Sonoma.
Excellent. Dan, does that help you a little bit?
It helps. And I like the concept of splitting off Sonoma Valley for these purposes from the rest of Sonoma County. And I think
we're all.
I don't think the rules work that way.
I don't either. I mean, everybody kind of is scratching their head thinking, how can we do this? But I think that similar to the conversations that Marin had, I mean, they got very creative in how they could reopen. I think that because we're attached to Santa Rosa, if we aren't creative, when we don't start pushing really hard on some creative ideas like this, who knows if we'll ever move from the purple tier down into the next, tiers. It really seems like an impossible next step.
We've got a call at 11 o'clock with Susan Gorin, so it'll be brought up again. I think she's sick of us bringing it up, but we'll do it.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, I want to thank, yes, Wendy.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to leave in like 1 minute. So I just wanted to, maybe that's happening right now.
I think we're all going to leave in about 1 minute.
Okay.
And I want to thank everybody for their participation today. I want to thank particularly Dan, Tim, and Maureen for their report. And we look forward to working with you. And I think we have to be alive, guys, and not play dead, because those people that are playing dead are going to die. We're not going to die. No, really, I really believe that. You have to have a positive attitude in a negative situation. And instead of saying how bad it is, like Winston Churchill, our glass is half full, we're not half empty, because we're all running about 50%, I think, in the hotels right now. So we're half full, which is better than where we were in March, April, and May, and it's going to get better. And I think the wineries are the same way. So I support and hope that your program will not only succeed, but you'll have other people feel the vibes and make us positive. And when the guests come here, they'll feel that way.
Right.
They really feel that way.
Before we go, I just want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate your partnership and your support. And I think that it's a really wonderful way for the Visitors Bureau and the Vintners and Growers to come together along with the Chamber and the city. And just want to say thank you so much on behalf of our organization.
And we thank you. Is anybody else anything to say before we adjourn? If not, I'm going to have the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, Norm. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.